Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this record here. It's by 10cc, it's the album Sheet Music. So yes, I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So this was 10cc's second studio album, released in May of 1974, and by this point they'd already made a bit of a name for themselves. It had a #1 single the previous year with Rubber Bullets, and two #2 singles with Donna and the decidedly terrible Neanderthal Man under the name of Hot Legs, like before they even became 10cc. So this record's seen a slight forward step in terms of their like creativity and kind of studio prowess, like I would say. It was recorded at their residence studio, Strawberry Studios in Stockport, which the band own and like sort of like run. Like it was like also notable that a regular visitor during these sessions for the album was a certain Paul McCartney, who was also using the studio to record his brother Mike McCartney's album, like at like the same time. So the band were quite I guess a little bit awestruck that their kind of hero was kind of coming in to use like their facilities like sort of like around like the same time like they were making like this album. So as I said, it was entirely produced and engineered like by like the band. So like Eric Stewart like kind of did like most of like the engineering and mixing like of the album. And yeah, definitely I would say it's the peak of 10cc's creativity and kind of like fluidity like as a band, like as well, you know, like on this album there's every possible combination like of like songwriting credit between like the four members, like with them all like collaborating like in like very different ways like on like this album, which is really interesting to see. Like kind of Gulman and Krem songs, or like sort of like Gulman and Godley, or like Godley and Stewart songs, you know, like I mean like they're all over the shop like when it comes to like this album, like in terms of like working together, which is what I think is what makes it quite unique like in like their catalogue, because after this they would kind of soon siphon off like into the Gulman Stewart camps and the Godley and Krem camps, whereas on this record everything was really like to play for. Now the band consider this probably like in retrospect their best album. You know, it's the one I think that they look back on with the fondest memories. You know, like the debut was a good stepping stone, but this was a record where they kind of knew what they were doing and they kind of had the most fun making it like as well. Like, you know, like they all like they recount these sessions with great fondness, and like as I said, like they all think of this as their best album before they perhaps maybe got a little bit too tribal like in like the two different camps. Now this was also a commercially successful album for them as well, so it reached #9 in the UK, or should I say it's commercially successful in like the UK. Like in like America though, didn't do a whole lot, only got to #81 like in like the US charts. It's not brilliant. I'm not sure if that was an improvement or kind of like the opposite like from like their debut, but certainly like I mean 10cc a bit of a kind of one-hit, two-hit wonder kind of thing like in like America with like I'm Not in Love and The Things You're Youthful Of, really the only stuff that they're known for like over there, whereas in the UK they had a reliable run of hit singles, which this album like there's two like hit singles like on here like what we'll soon get to. So anyway, before I go through like each track, I'm just going to show you my vinyl copy of it here. This is a original pressing of the album on UK records. This was their last record they made on UK records before they signed to, I believe it was Mercury Records. I think again the success was building for them, and I think they were looking for like a better contract, and they certainly got that like with like Mercury. Like their albums and singles like became a lot more like even more successful like than they had been like up to like this point. So yeah, this was their last record they made like on UK records. You've got this fantastic cover designed by the Hypnostics team, who did a lot of work with Pink Floyd and Paul McCartney around this time. There's a great documentary just to mention like on like the side, I think it's called Squaring the Circle, I think, which is all about like it basically tells the story like of like the Hypnosis like design team. Fascinating watch. So like yeah, I definitely recommend that. Like, and like they don't talk too much about 10cc, but I think Graham Gulman's featured in it possibly if I'm like remembering right. But yeah, fantastic kind of optical illusion cover here of them kind of pulling in this kind of blanket, like blanket what sits behind this photo, really cleverly done. And there's the back of it there, just with the track listing there. And then inside here you have got a lyrical insert, which is quite nice here, just with little graphics and all of the songs and the kind of yeah, crucially like the writing credits on here as well, which can get quite confusing for this album. And then also like all of like the kind of musicians credits as well, which is really good to see. And then, as I said, this is the record. It's on this UK Records, and I have to say this is probably one of my best sounding records, or certainly one of my probably best sounding, best produced, but also I guess best pressings as well. You know, I kind of put this on the turntable, and like it was just on like what it kind of it's kind of default setting, which is kind of like kind of like in like the middle basically, and this just like blew blew out the speakers. It's a great sounding pressing, yeah, especially from like the time. So yeah, fantastic stuff there. So that is the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album's songs in detail. I'll score each track out of 10 and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So the record kicks off with the Wall Street Shuffle. Now this is one of 10cc's most popular songs. This is a really great, tight pop song, pop art rock song, I guess like you could say. Great harmonies on it. You've got these, again, great production with this, very kind of classy kind of piano part to it. But then these kind of great kind of swooshing guitar sounds and these power chords which give it a real kind of sense of menace to like the song, which is essentially about the kind of stock markets and kind of capitalism, kind of messing over like the common man sort of thing. And you've got like Eric Stewart taking the lead vocal on this, so he gives the song an accessible and kind of radio friendly vocal performance. So this was the second single from the album, and it reached number 10 on the UK charts, providing them with another top 10 hit here, like in like the UK. So yeah, the Wall Street Shuffle, fantastic track, and for me a 10 out of 10.
It's one thing to know it, but another to admit we're the worst band in the world, but we don't.
Okay, the next record is called The Worst Band in the World. So this is a Krem and Gouldman song, this one here. And this one is a very fun, very light-hearted kind of song. Basically, like I said, it must be one of the only Krem and Gouldman co-writes. Quite funny lyrics on this one, you know, about kind of poking fun like the music industry. He sings with it like Lord Krem takes the lead vocal on this, and he does a great job of kind of putting a lot of personality to these lyrics, where they sing we've never done a day's work in our lives and our records selling zillions. It irrigates my heart with greed to know that you adore me. And then then you've also got some great lines about kind of them looking, I guess, down on the slightly less glamorous crew. They sing we never see the van, we leave it to the roadies. We've never met the roadies, we leave them in the van. A great kind of playful kind of back and forth there, with those lyrics. So yeah, just a playful song. There's great production, great guitar tones throughout the song. I like the kind of the idiosyncratic structure to it as well. You know, you don't really know where this song is going. Notably, this was released as a single. This was the first single they chose to release from the album, and I must say a slightly odd and puzzling choice there. This one failed to chart completely, a complete flop, you know, which is quite surprising considering it was the follow-up to, as I said, one number one, two number twos, and a top 10 with the Dean and I, and then this song just absolutely bombed. I guess even this was probably a stretch too far for the kind of general record buying public or kind of radio airplay off the time. But no, Worst Band in the World, a really good track, and for me we'll get a 9 out of 10.
Let's buy a hotel, let's get a yacht.
Okay, next up is called Hotel. So this one is a Godley and Krem song, the kind of classic classic songwriting team there. This one is a kind of quite a fun upbeat song, musically at least, you know. It's basically concerns these kind of these American people basically coming over to what I think must be the rainforest or some kind of desert, and kind of sort of attempting to buy a hotel. The song then kind of goes on a bit of a narrative. We kind of get this carnivorous tribe of people sort of talking about eating the Pentagon alive, and kind of very kind of wacky, off the wall kind of lyrics to this, to go along with a very extravagant production with kind of a lot of calypso drums in there. For me, giving it a 7 out of 10. It's not one of my favourite 10cc songs. I think it is a little bit stretched out, and I just they kind of it's kind of, the song has got a lot of parts to it, but then they basically about halfway through they just sort of repeat the whole song again. I can maybe do do without that. I think if they maybe chopped it in half, made it a lot tighter like as a song, I think it would have worked like a lot better. But then like by the end, you've got this kind of like they never ever let you go kind of chorus, which kind of takes us to like the fade out, which again just gets a little bit annoying for me personally. So yeah, Hotel would get a 7 out of 10 because it certainly is a creative and yeah, quite wacky song.
Waiting for miracles.
Okay, next track up is Old Wild Men, which is another like Godley and Creme co-write, even though the verse, or like the first verse at least, like is sung by Eric Stewart. Lyrically, this one is about kind of aging rock stars basically, and kind of like the pioneers of kind of rock music growing old. So he's sort of like this, like kind of like this lyric goes like, old men of rock and roll came bearing music. Where are they now? They are over the hill and far away. It's a nice ballad, this, and again, it's got these kind of ethereal kind of backing vocals on it in a kind of very kind of, I guess, a kind of similar style to what they'd later do on I'm Not in Love, on like a much more like epic kind of scale. I like the production on this. I like the kind of dual guitar solo. It's certainly, again, if I was to compile a playlist of my favourite 10cc songs, it probably wouldn't make the cut, this one, but it's a decent track. It's a good track like on the album, so it would get an 8 out of 10.
I'm a clockwork creep, and I can't get asleep. They wind me up and let me go.
Okay, and now we get for me one of the album's highlights, which is Clockwork Creep. So this is another Godley and Creme song, and this one is essentially, the lyrical premise of this is about a bomb which is on a kind of jumbo jet. It's about to be detonated, and the kind of the story of the song is kind of told from the perspective of like the bomb, and it just shows Godley and Creme, I guess, at their most playful and kind of theatrical. This track, you know, you've got a lot of different sections to this, lots of different voices going on, and kind of different characters kind of like in like the track, but it's not pretentious by any means, you know, bad like any means, like a self-indulgent. It's playful fun, this, which is what I really like with like 10cc like around like this time. Some great kind of wacky lines like now just hold on, said the little bomb, if you were just to hold my hand, then time would stop, the plot would flop, and Jumbo would be safe to land. It's a really good song. Perhaps this song is most famous though for being used as the introduction to their later hit I'm Mandy Fly Me, and that's almost serves as a kind of sequel to this song, like in like some ways. But this is a great song. Clockwork Creep are a really good track. A 10 out of 10 from me. Okay, next one up is a Silly Love. So that opens up side 2. This is a Lol Creme and Eric Stewart co-write, this one here. And this one is basically a kind of meat and potatoes rocker, like in some ways. You know, you have heavy guitar riffs, these very gritty sounding guitars. I mean, they just sound great, you know. This is a really well produced album, this, and I think these guitar sounds are kind of like a very good like example of that. A very like rollicking verse, like, you know, with like Lol Creme doing a great vocal performance. But then the song, like although I said it's a meat and potatoes rocker, it then goes in some slightly different sort of like diversions on it, particularly like on like the middle eighth, with this great line you know, the art of conversation must be dying when a romance depends on cliches and toupees and three-pays, and great stuff there from 10cc. And I think if anything though, I prefer this album version to the single version, because they do a bit of like an extended outro on this, just with this fantastic guitar soloing, which I really like, you know, and like I think probably makes me prefer this album version to like the edited single version. This was, as I said, I think the third single released from the album, and it reached a respectable number 24 like on the charts. Certainly not one of like their biggest hits, but a really good song though nonetheless, and we get a 9 out of 10 from me.
Oh, let there be lights, action.
Okay, the next one up is called Somewhere in Hollywood. So this is another Godley and Creme track, and this one's I guess is often seen as the album's kind of centerpiece, or certainly one of like the masterpieces like on the album. It's a kind of early example of Godley and Crem's interest in the kind of cinema and kind of film, and I guess kind of foreshadows in a way their kind of future careers, like as pop video producers. It's quite a long song, this. It's well over 6 minutes, a very meandering track with some, quite dramatic parts, like that kind of light action sound, like kind of chorus and that, and then lots of changes in kind of time signature, like as it goes on. I mean, a few like observations from me. There's this opening synth line on it, which is very haunting sounding, but the melody reminds me a lot of the Beatles, like The Longer Winding Road. It's basically just kind of lifted from that, I have to say. And then just generally as well, the song is probably 10cc often get compared to Queen, like around this time. Like, they're often seen as similar bands in some ways, as far as having 4 very talented musicians who all wrote songs, and being very much kind of studio wizards kind of thing, and that. Although Queen, of course, had a more kind of theatrical edge to them. But I think this is a song where I could easily close my eyes and see Freddie Mercury singing it. It's got that kind of it's got that kind of like flamboyant kind of like feel to it, like what I think he would have done like a good job of, and possibly would have made like slightly better, because although Kevin Godley is a great vocalist, I just think he maybe just sounds a little bit undistinctive on this song. Personally, I don't want to be too cruel on it, but it's just not a song which I've really connected with, and I think it just meanders a little bit too much for me. And then you've got bits of it which go into this kind of very kind of casual West Coast USA kind of feel to it, and it's just for me a song which I've not quite clicked with yet. Might grow on me one day, but I am still going to give it like an 8 out of 10, because I do appreciate this track. I do think it is a good work of art, but it's maybe just not one of my favourites on the album.
Well, he can take a little moonlight, shut the poison.
Okay, the next one up is called Baron Samedi. Now, this is a Stuart Gouldman song about a kind of tribesman, I guess, possibly maybe the same people who come along in the track Hotel, and it's got a kind of, again, it's a good track, this, with kind of very creative kind of arrangement on it, and a great chorus, that line like where it goes like, he could take a little moonlight, suck the poison from a snake bite, moving round about midnight, he's got the power of life. You've got all these fantastic wall of harmonies on there, and it's just it's just a really great production. And then I especially love the bit where I think he said something about he can sort of change the living dead or something like that, and then his voice just goes up and up and up in pitch, like exponentially, and I think that works really well, quite unique. I've never heard that done like on like a record before, and sounds so fresh and kind of exciting, so that like really works. Also got to shout out Graham Gouldman's bass playing on this song, which I think is quite exceptional. An all-round creative song which I always enjoy when it's on, like always feel like when I'm kind of listening to it that I actually really enjoy the song more than ever remember, so that's always a good thing. So Baron Samedi would get a 9 out of 10 from me.
'Cause all you wanna do is be alone at the bar. All you wanna do is be...
Okay, the next track up is called The Sacro Iliac, and this one is a, let me get the credit right, a Gouldman-Godley song, like Kevin Godley, Graham Gouldman co-wrote this song. This was a more, I guess, low-key kind of song, breezy acoustic track, sung by Graham Gouldman. I think it's his only lead vocal like on this album, and it's a good kind of, it's this classic 10cc kind of fusion thing, you can certainly hear Graham Gouldman's kind of classic songwriting coming through, like he wrote, of course, songs for the likes of like the Hollies, and you can definitely hear like that like bus stop, look through any window kind of feel to this song. But then you've also then got Kevin Godley's slightly more quirky, artsier side on it. Lyrically, this song is essentially about a kind of new dance, about how how by sort of learning it you'll never ever need to be alone at the bar. But the kind of twist of the song is that there's no dance, you just sit on like, I think they say like you sit on like your bum, or like just sit on like your arse or something like that. But basically, that's the kind of premise of like the song. It's decent, it's okay. It's probably the weakest like on the album, because I just think it maybe fits a little bit better than perhaps onto like the debut possibly. It's just good. It's just a good, okay song list, but certainly not anything more than that. So the Sacro Iliac would get a 7 out of 10.
There's a real big demand, and
Okay, and then we've reached the album closer with the track called O Offende, which is a good solid rocker to end the album on, with lyrics which are very easy to miss on this. You know, again, Kevin Godley sings them. It's essentially about kind of Middle East kind of arms dealers, basically. And there's a good chorus on it, though, like that bit, like there's a real big demand, and it's written in the palm of his hand. He's going to change the face of the desert. He's going to sweep away the sand. And then this great closing line to end the album: goodbye friends, there's no more goodies in the pipeline. Like, it's like the last lyric song like on this album. Just what a cool way to end the record. As far as the song, it's good, it's decent. I'm just scoring it up again because of like the really great guitar work on it, and also that fantastic like kind of like final line like to end what has been a really creative album. Okay, so overall, this album would score 85%. So I think this is a very fun album, a very innovative and inventive album, you know, which I guess it never goes where you think it's going to go, this album. I guess 1 minute it's kind of a pure pop album. Next you're kind of going down kind of songs about kind of tribes people and stuff. Next minute you're kind of like on like a film set. So it's kind of, it's all over the shop, this album, but I think like in like the best way possible. But it's also quite inconsistent as well in terms of quality. You know, you've got tracks in here which for me rank among 10cc's best work, things like The Wall Street Shuffle, Worst Band in the World, Clockwork Creep, and Silly Love. But then some other tracks which are just kind of so things like Hotel and The Sacro-Iliac. So I also look back on some of like my previous 10cc reviews. So yeah, this one scored 85%. Other albums I've reviewed of theirs, I think Deceptive Ben's got just slightly higher than this. I think about 86%, and the debut album I think got well higher than that. Again, just because that is so good, it's such a great record. But this did score higher though than How Dare You. And I've not reviewed the original soundtrack yet, so I'll have to maybe wait and see for like that review. But yeah, a great record, maybe their finest record, possibly not, certainly not my personal favourite though, but a great record though nonetheless. So yeah, that's been my review of Sheet Music by 10cc. So I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time for the next one. Goodbye.